Raila Odinga faults the government for deploying the military to deal with internal protests. From NHIF to SHIF, what health benefits will accrue from the new scheme? Our sign language interpreter is Anne Wangeshi, and my name is Edmund Mudibo. We're glad you made us your choice for this evening. The government has called on umbrella bodies representing the youth, civil society, religious organizations, academia, student leadership, and parliament, among others, to nominate 2 representatives by 7th July to be appointed to the National Steering Committee, a youth engagement forum that will be mandated to address concerns raised by the youth, who held countrywide demos against tax increments. The concerns include, among others, creation of jobs, public debt, and the national tax policy. This comes after the Gen Z countrywide protests that led to the withdrawal of the controversial Finance Bill 2024.
After anti-tax countrywide protests by Gen Z that led to the withdrawal of the Finance Bill 2024, the government on Saturday laid down a roadmap to engage the youth on topical issues, including national tax policy and unemployment. In a statement, the head of Public Service Felix Koskei said the government announced the formation of a National Steering Committee to comprise of 2 representatives from umbrella bodies representing the youth, civil society, religious organization, business community, professional bodies, academic fraternity, student leadership, majority and minority leaders of parliament, and the Council of Governors, among others. The 100-member committee shall be the top organ of the National Multi-Sectoral Forum that will engage the political leaders and other stakeholders in all 47 counties on pertinent national issues not limited to youth and employment, national tax policy, the public debt burden, anti-corruption measures, and accountability. In a meeting with the clergy drawn from AIPC at the State House, President William Ruto said he was ready to listen and engage the youth through dialogue.
Mimi nitatoa taarifa leo ya kwamba mimi nataka tuongee kama Wakenya. Maneno ya ajira kwa vijana wetu wa Kenya, tuweke mawazo kwa meza. Yale tumepanga kama serikali, kama haitoshi, tuongezee zile zingine. Tuongee vile pia expenditure ya serikali.
He insisted that the government has deliberate programs and policies to create job and income opportunities for young people.
Pia tukubaliane vile tutakabiliana na mambo ya ufisadi. Ndio tupigane na wakora wote. Na tukubaliane yale mambo mengine wa Kenya wataleta kwa meza.
Give us in mind, Legends Edition.
Meanwhile, Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Alliance leader Raila Odinga has faulted the country's top security organ for deploying the military to quell the countrywide tension occasioned by the anti-Finance Bill 2024 protests. Odinga termed the move as a blot on civilian authority, adding that the Kenya Army is meant to battle with foreign aggression and not internal strife. The opposition leader was speaking in Siaya on Saturday at a burial ceremony.
The deployment of the Kenya Defence Forces on the streets of major towns across the country in the wake of protests by the young generation remains a topic of concern among leaders, even as the courts on Wednesday termed it constitutional. Azimio leader Raila Odinga, while in Ugunja, Siaya County on Saturday at a burial ceremony of the late former secretary of the Luo Council of Elders, Owino Nyadi, said the move undermines the country's civilian authority.
This means the civilian authority has failed. The civilian process have failed to deal with the people. The military are not supposed to be on the streets. Army is there to defend the country against foreign aggression, not to deal with internal strifes. And that's why it is very wrong for him in our court to rule that you can continue to maintain army on our streets.
Odinga also condemned the police for using excess force to quell the demos, thereby causing deaths and leaving scores injured.
Peaceful demonstrators should be actually escorted by police. They should not be shot by the police. So what you've seen, indiscriminate bloodletting in our country, is completely inexcusable and unacceptable. We condemn in the strongest terms possible this brutal use of the police force against the innocent people of our country. Police responsibility is to protect the life and property of the people of Kenya. But a police officer who goes out and becomes rogue and begins to shoot aimlessly is a criminal who needs to be dealt with in accordance with the law.
He urged Kenyans to remain firm as their rights are protected in the Constitution. Earlier, Odinga had attended the burial of the late comedian Fred Omondi in Sega, Ugenya constituency, Siaya County, where area governor James Orengo warned Kenyans that their dreams may be dimmed following the slashing of government expenditure.
He has asked members of parliament to come out with a supplementary budget in which all the allocations for expenditure for the Republic of Kenya will be reduced substantially. So that Mama Mboga, if he had any hopes from Ruto, that hope is dead, because he's telling you he has no money.
Parliament is set to consider the budget cuts in the supplementary budget after President William Ruto assented to the Appropriations Bill 2024 and instructed the National Treasury to immediately prepare supplementary estimates to reduce expenditure by the amount of revenue that was expected to be generated by the rejected Finance Bill 2024. Kamche Menza for the Legends Edition.
On his part, Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has appealed to Gen Z to stop protesting and intimidating leaders as President William Ruto embarks on a multi-sectoral approach to address issues raised during the 2024 Finance Bill protests. This even as he cautioned leaders to stop high-octane and divisive politics.
Addressing Murang'a County residents at Kaharati Primary School grounds in Marago constituency during the Marago Education Endowment Fund, the Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua called for restraint as the President seeks for multi-sectorial approach to solve issues raised.
Siku hizi unasikiza watoto. Huwezi kutoa tu amri kwa nyumba. Now that the President has agreed, we engage. Tuanze kuongea. Tulete maneno chini. Our young people, we have heard you, we'll engage you. You have some valid points. We'll also share with you what we know.
Following attacks on leaders who supported the 2024 Finance Bill, Gachagua pleaded with Gen Z to stop jeering and burning their property. He also cautioned politicians to avoid divisive politics.
Si mtakuwa na nafasi wakati ya uchaguzi. Saa hii tuwapatie nafasi wafanye kazi. Hii maneno ya kuwatukana, kuharibu mali yao, kuwatisha, hakuna haja. Sisi hakuna pesa tulitoa ati milioni 2 ya kupatia wajumbe. It is not true. Let us not tusiharibie watu majina.
His sentiments were supported by leaders present who disregarded the notion of disunity in the executive.
Kumwomba rais, sababu rais na deputy president wote tunaanga mkono. Mimi nataka kumuomba kama kijana yake ule mdogo. Vile alisikiliza Gen Z, asikilize Rig G.
The Kikuyu cultural group Kiama Kiama have also come to the defense of the Deputy President as they called for the release of those arrested during protests.
Wakati wetu kusameheana. Sisi kama wazee tunaomba tusameheane sisi wote. Tuendelee na kuleta amani katika nchi. Tukipenda vijana wetu pia wawe wameachiliwa. Kama wako na makosa wapelekwe kotini. Lakini sio kusindikizwa kwamba fulani Mkikuyu fulani ndio anaongoza nyinyi.
Sarafina Nairobi for Legends Edition.
Thank you, Sarafina Nairobi there. Students at the Kenya School of Law are demanding an immediate and thorough investigation and accountability for the abduction and alleged torture of its student leader Joshua Okayo, who was found on Friday near Maragua River in Murang'a County after he was abducted on Wednesday. Meanwhile, religious leaders in Mombasa are urging the youth to end the ongoing protests and give dialogue a chance.
The Kenya School of Law student leader Joshua Okayo was in the hands of abductors from Wednesday until Friday this week. He was abducted at the height of the deadly Anti-Finance Bill 2024 protests that saw the invasion of Parliament. His brother Frederick Otieno, the school representatives, and medical staff at Avenue Hospital where he is being treated say he is undergoing almost unbearable pain, having been subjected to torture by his abductors.
That he was tortured. He has a lot of pain beginning from the neck and on his entire body, chest, and even the leg and ankles. So that one shows that he was indeed tortured.
Joshua Okayo seems to be in a state that one would describe as a state of confusion.
Okayo was found by a good Samaritan near River Maragua in Murang'a County. The school now demands an immediate and thorough investigation into Okayo's abduction, demanding accountability from the authorities.
Tuna katiba na tukiahidi kwamba sisi tunafuata katiba. Wanafunzi wako na uhuru wa kuandamana, wako na uhuru wa kupeleka petition parliament, na pia wako na uhuru hata kupeleka petition kwa president.
Meanwhile, religious leaders in Mombasa have urged the youth to end the ongoing protests and give dialogue a chance.
Tunapoendelea kufanya maandamano tunaharibu uchumi. Tunapoendelea kufanya maandamano tunaharibu uso wa taifa letu la Kenya.
Wazazi pamoja na vijana, ujumbe wa vijana umefika, uliotuwakilisha sisi sote, lakini hapa palipofika tusiendelee kuiharibu nchi yetu ya Kenya.
The protests have left a trail of death and destruction, some of which the public say will take years to overcome. Meanwhile, Tharaka Nithi Governor Muthomi Njuki now says some destructive rioters want to take advantage of the good cause started by Generation Z protesters clamoring for change as they turn to theft and vandalism.
Because when you go to a town and attack a supermarket that has employed 150 or 200 young people, what are you telling us? What does the supermarket have to do with the signing of the bill? Does the supermarket sit in parliament?
Speaking at the Presbyterian College in Rubati, Tharaka Nithi County, where he presided over the 26th graduation ceremony, Governor Njuki said there was a need to embrace the young people at the decision-making table while cautioning against those who want to use them to cause chaos. Tilio Marco for Legends Edition.
Patients living with sickle cell in Homa Bay County are requesting the government to make medication more accessible in their localities. Speaking in Homa Bay town, Susan Abuto, a survivor, emphasized that the high cost of drugs is a significant burden and urged the government to reduce prices and include medications in the upcoming health scheme. Kevin Osuri, the county health officer, Kenneth Osuri, the Chief Health Officer, encouraged parents and caregivers to remain consistent in caring for their loved ones despite the myths surrounding the disease.
I'm a sickler. I've been living with sickle cell for 31 years. And the journey has been a challenge to me because of the expenses that are come across because of the medication. The medication are not cheap.
Mtoto wa kwanza akona sickle cell, alafu watatu pia akona sickle cell. Wa pili yeye ndiye alipatikana ya kwamba hana dalili zozote. Madawa saa zingine unaenda hospitalini hazipo. Inabidi ya kwamba ununue nje. Kununua nje iko expensive sana. Unapata ya kwamba tablet moja wanakuuzia at 50, saa zingine 60. Na hiyo ni hydroxyurea. Haujanunua Palidril, haujanunua maybe PNV.
We have put in deliberate efforts as a county to combat issues with stigma around sickle cell, to train our staff better, including our CHPs, to create better awareness in the community and to emphasize that sickle cell is not taboo, it is not a curse, but it's just a sickness like any other, and it can be diagnosed and managed to the extent that the sickler can live a full life.
Still in matters health, uncertainty on the benefits of the new Social Health Insurance Fund, others known as SHIF, has gripped a section of Kenyans, with some looking forward to it, while others preferring retention of the National Health Insurance Fund, NHIF, albeit with necessary improvements. Our reporter Kasi Chanamasha now unwraps the new Social Health Insurance Fund, comparing the old and the new.
For some Kenyans, the National Health Insurance Fund was just fine.
Nimemaliza kulea ama kupata mtoto mwingine na mwingine, unaona. So, kulingana na changamoto yenye mimi upitia huku kama baba ama mzazi, bado pia juu ya bima ya mtoto na bibi na mtoto, biba mama, sioni ikiwa mbaya, bado juu inanisaidia tu, itasaidia tu familia yangu tu pakubwa.
Wale ambao wanalipwa pesa ya chini ni kama 300, 500 ama saa ingine 200. Kwa hiyo ikiwa unatoa 300 kwa mwezi, naona itawasaidia, kwa sababu hii ya 500 pengine ilikuwa mingi sana, na ukienda hospitali unaambiwa kwanza ugharamia kama miezi 6 alafu kuje utibiwe. Saa akitoa hiyo miezi 6 itakuwa mzuri sana, at least hiyo 300 itasaidia. Yes.
But that's not so for others.
It's been improved, but not to be scrapped off. Because scrapping it off and bringing something that is having some other difficulties for us to even access it is a problem. Right now they are saying that people have to re-register. How? They have the details of people who are in NHIF. Why don't they just use those details to bring everything that was in that other system to this system, if they want us to do that?
On October 19, 2023, the President assented into law 4 bills. These are Social Health Insurance Act, Primary Health Care Act, Facility Improvement Financing Act, and Digital Health Act. The Social Health Insurance Act establishes the Social Health Authority to facilitate healthcare services from enlisted providers by pooling contributions, ensuring equitable distribution of quality healthcare at level 4, 5, and 6 hospitals. SHA will manage 3 funds, namely Primary Healthcare Fund, Social Health Insurance Fund, which is now replacing NHIF, and the Emergency and Chronic Illness Fund. The major difference between the two is that NHIF was designed for those in formal employment, but the new fund will be all-inclusive. SHIF will also have a major organized referral system, unlike NHIF, enhancing the quality of care.
And when you have a referral system that is not organized, then you're not optimizing the use of your resources. So the tendency is to want people to go to the lowest level of care and ascend only as required. However, in our current healthcare system, people have been entering at various points, especially much higher than they need to. And therefore, there's need for us to be able to reorganize the healthcare referral system.
In NHIF, the premium was pegged at a maximum premium of 1,700 shillings and a minimum of 500 shillings. Under SHI, those employed will part with 2.75% of their income, with the minimum premium being 300 shillings.
Then the third level, social health insurance, will be funded by contributions by people who are both in employment and not in employment. For those that are not able to afford, government will pay their premiums.
The ministry says this will help increase the number of people who are insured. The scope of benefit has also been expanded under the new scheme to encompass medical outpatient services, end-of-life services, surgical services, specialized pharmacy benefits, medical inpatient and critical care services, as well as accident and emergency services. Other benefits include optical, mental wellness services, specialized essential diagnostic services, renal care services, overseas treatment and dental health care services. The new scheme will also cater for rehabilitative services, screening for common diseases, assistive devices, maternity and child health services, ontology services, and medical imaging services. A major shift in the new arrangement is a fund to cater for health facilities improvement. Funds raised within a facility will be retained for medical services and improvement of its infrastructure.
What we have had previously is where money is raised from a health facility, patients pay for services, money is collected, but it is invested in other areas that are not health areas. That is why we have this Facility Improvement Financing Act, so that then
one can enjoy the benefit after being a member by registering via mobile phone through USSD code *147# or website on www.sha.go.ke or under the guidance of a community health promoter. Kasichana Masha, Legends Edition.
And we interrupt this bulletin to give you a developing story where 9 people are confirmed perished in Narok shuttle after a tire burst heading to Bomet from Narok. That is, 9 people confirmed perished in Narok shuttle after a tire burst, that is confirmed dead, after a tire burst in Narok shuttle heading to Bomet from Narok. More details in our subsequent bulletins. The government has emphasized the crucial role of science, technology, engineering and mathematics, that is STEM education, in driving socio-economic development, noting that STEM-based jobs are a catalyst for innovation and advancement in science and engineering. However, the Director of Projects and Coordination in the Ministry of Education, Elijah Mungai, says there is a global skill gap crisis with businesses struggling to attract the right talents in STEM fields. He said that at the Center for Mathematics, Science and Technology Education in Africa, that is Semaster, is positioned to transform how STEM education is implemented at the school level in Kenya, addressing the gap.
The curriculum, the CBC curriculum, and therefore we seek to tap interests that come with the popularity of the pathway to our development partners.
We believe as a sector, Semaster is the key institution that will revolutionize STEM education.
The future of our children inspires us all to plan very well, like we shall be present tomorrow. STEM education is a critical ingredient for socio-economical development of our country, and the plan that we are launching today is a landmark in an endeavor to collaboratively strengthen STEM education.
Well, it's 20 minutes past the hour. It's time for our very first break, but we implore you, urge you, please stay with us. There's plenty more on the other side.
Clean and safe water starts with a plan. WASREB's Water Safety Planning Guideline helps to protect our water from contamination and ensures that every consumer has access to clean and safe water.
The team goes out every day. They pick samples and come back with the samples almost like on an estimate around 30 samples per day. They test for coliform and also E. coli.
As a consumer, you can also get involved in making this planning effective. Report any issues such as leaks, unusual tastes, or smells in your water to your water provider immediately.
In addition, we also do what we call regular monitoring. We send out inspectors to pick samples, test them in accredited labs, and where they are not meeting the standards, we have the enforcement as an enforcement strategy.
WASREB, celebrating 20 years of water services regulation.
Asanteni sana kwa kuwezesha Loto Moto kuwafikia wengi wasiojiweza kupitia *570#. Hapa umewafuta wengi machozi, umewaelimisha, umewapa makao, umewapa lishe na umewapa matibabu kwa namna tofauti. Asanteni.
Asanteni. Asanteni sana.
Na kwako wewe mchezaji wa Lotomoto, unajipa fursa ya kujishindia Probox nayo. Na kama Probox haikufai na umejishindia, tunakupa taslim 750,000 Kenyan shillings na mshindi na mtangaza 30th of June. Na mwezi wa July 28th na mtangaza mshindi wa Demio nayo. Na kama utaki na umeshinda, wacha gari, chukua chapa 750,000 Kenyan shillings kwenye *570#. Wewe si mshindi tu, wewe ni tegemeo kubwa. Tusaidie na tushinde.
Kikohozi cha muda wowote, kutokwa na jasho kwa wingi usiku, uchungu kwenye kifua, afya kudhoofika, tafuta matibabu. Labda ni TB ni ugonjwa wa kweli. Ukipimwa matibabu yapo utapona. Daktari kushauri tumia dawa kwa nidhamu. Elimu tupashane tupige vita TB. Mwa TB waishi poa. Mwa TB waishi poa.
Bila tu mnavyoniona tu, sina mtu yeyote, sina mahali nitakimbilia, sina kazi naweza fanya kwa sababu ya hii ugonjwa. Siwezi fanya, siwezi simama. Mungu, kusimama ni uchungu. Munione tu huruma, maana sina vile nitafanya. Katika maisha yangu nimeteseka mimi, mpaka hata nikakata tamaa. Nikasema tu mimi sijui nikunywe sumu nikufe ama nini, kwa sababu nimeteseka vya kutosha katika maisha yangu. Nimeteseka sana, lakini tu roho ingine inaniambia tu acha tu, Mungu akanionekanie tu.
Welcome back. Kenya remains short of funds in climate financing despite being at the forefront in advocating for adaptation and mitigation measures in the war on climate change. According to the African Development Bank Group, Africa receives just $30 billion per year for climate adaptation instead of $277 billion. Sarafina Robi sought to find out how structures and policies can be streamlined to make the war on climate change a win-win for Africa.
Under the veil of darkness, a dam in Old Kijabe in Maimahiu burst its banks on the 29th of April 2024 and swept everything on its way, killing more than 50 people. This exposed the existential threat caused by climate change, eliciting a heated debate on green financing and climate financing. Green financing is a loan or investment that promotes environmentally positive activities, while climate financing is one aspect of green finance which is particularly focused on the adaptation to the impacts of climate change or the reduction or limitation of greenhouse gas emissions.
Where do we find money or resources or financing, number one, at scale, and number two, that is affordable, and number three, that is accessible?
This is a question that most African countries ask, as they are the most affected despite emitting only 10% of greenhouse gases globally.
Africa alone needs $190 billion per year up until 2030 for mitigation. And when it comes to adaptation, Africa needs $50 billion a year, all the way up to 2050.
I think the most recent estimate from the Climate Policy Initiative is that Africa needs $277 billion annually, right? But what we actually receive is $30 billion annually, which creates a challenge where it's like, how are we supposed to meet our nationally determined contributions?
Why isn't Kenya and other African countries receiving these funds?
Say, for example, the Adaptation Fund under the Kyoto Protocol, or the Green Climate Fund under the UNFCCC, the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change. They have stringent rules.
If you take the example of Kenya, the estimate in terms of what we need annually is around 460 billion shillings. But what we actually get, for example, in 2018, which I think is the most recent figure that the government actually tried to track climate finance for, was actually around 240. So we're barely even at halfway of what we need.
This henceforth called for proper structures and frameworks.
The legal framework in Kenya has just been developed. I think we would say that. I think that's the correct thing to say. It's been happening under agreements.
With the Climate Change Act of 2016, we're supposed to have a climate change fund where all money kind of pulls in for climate change and is spent from there. That's in terms of how the money is organized. In terms of how we raise that money or that finance for climate change, there's been a number of ideas. So, for example, the issuance of what we call green bonds, which essentially are domestic bonds that the government issues in order to finance specifically green projects or renewable projects, for example.
Disparities in disbursement remains.
These resources are allocated should be different, where those who need it most get it, while those who need it least don't have to get a lion's share of what they don't need.
We put together the US, Canada, East Asia, and Western Europe, and the Pacific. Those areas of the globe account for 84% of climate finance, right? Which leaves very little for the rest of the world. We're talking about the whole of South America, we're talking about the whole of Africa, as well as Australia, among others.
As these are being addressed, other forms such as carbon tax and carbon trading have been considered, but how viable are they?
The EU Parliament has already considered FTT, the financial transaction tax, as a means of raising resources to deal with climate change. And in fact, they've gone all the way to their parliament. So the idea of a carbon tax is no longer remote. We must have it firmly on the table.
That is what informed the amendment of the Climate Change Act last year. And now, just last month, we now have the carbon market regulations. This now put in place a mechanism of trading in Kenya, or crystallizing or even protecting the interest of those who have the projects.
Does the public know of such initiatives?
I don't know much about climate financing, but I know there's an agreement that was drafted in 2016 out of the Paris Climate Agreement, of which the country is supposed to access funds from an international kitty that helps conserve the environment.
About climate financing, I don't know anything about it, so I just heard about it, and I think it's a good idea that the government have the civic education to the public.
Yeah, transparency ni kitu sana itahitajika kama kuna kule kulipa carbon credit.
This shows gaps in climate financing and awareness, raising questions on transparency and accountability.
We don't have a way of tracking expenditure, so we don't have, some other countries have what is known as budget tagging, or kind of tagging of climate expenditure, where there's a code that's within a certain program or sub-program that tells you that this is classified as climate expenditure.
Meanwhile, Kenya received 28% of the continental climate financing, as experts hope that better structures will be put to ensure transparency and accountability. Serafina Nairobi for Legends Edition.
Nandi County Health Minister Ruth Koech has thanked the central government for conducting civic education on hygiene, thus enhancing health outcomes in the county. Details on this and much more in the County News Roundup.
Speaking at the end of a door-to-door campaign in Nandi County, organized by the African Research and Medicine Organization, the Ministry of Health Secretary in the Department of Public Health, Mary Muriuki, said some diseases can be prevented through hygiene and good nutrition.
I am sure by the end of this week, tutakuwa tumefikisha 7 million. Out of that, 3.9, they have already been screened for diabetes. 77,000 of those who have been screened for diabetes have been referred to a health facility for further assessment.
Nandi County Health CEC Ruth Koech said the hygiene and nutrition campaign reached over 24,000 people.
As a county, we are committed to do what we must do to take our health to the next level. Maneno ya data. Hapa ni penye unaona watu wa digital platforms yenye wanafanyanga hiyo maneno. But tutafanya in a very good way because data is everything. Maneno ya numbers doesn't lie. And for the CHPs, musichoke kurudi kwa manyumba na kuongea na watu, do the continuous assessment.
Finally, in Mlolongo, Machakos County, the youth have donated over 100 pints of blood in support of those who sustained injuries during the Tuesday and Thursday demonstrations against the Finance Bill 2024 and are currently admitted in hospitals across the country. The blood donated will be distributed to several hospitals that need it across the country.
We are agitating for better leadership, better governance. The Finance Bill was just a trigger.
Kama tunaweza tujitokeze kwenye mahospitali, tujitokeze tuwasaidie kwa kuwatolea damu, kwa kuwapatia tu ile support, wasione kuwa tunawatenga.
For Legends Edition, I'm Wahumungai.
It's time now for a second break, but we request stay with us because sports news is coming to you on the other side with Topi Lyambila.
Kikohozi cha muda wowote, kutokwa na jasho kwa wingi usiku, uchungu kwenye kifua, afya kudhoofika, tafuta matibabu.
Hii kazi ya kutafuta bibi ni ngumu sana.
Naweza kutafutia mmoja.
Hai dad.
Ukae na kijana wako na mumuite mama yake, mpange mambo yenu kama familia. Mimi siko na nyinyi.
Tibiwa ishi poa. Tibiwa ishi poa.
Sports News is brought to you by Mozart Bet.
Good evening again, and once again, it's a big welcome to the sports segment of the Legends Edition this Saturday evening. Hoping that you're all set for another bumper edition, as usual, on the Legends Edition, KBC Channel 1. Now, we start off with Police FC, who are the winners of the Mozart Bet Cup, and will represent the country in the CAF Confederations Cup next season after a 7-6 post-match penalty win over KCB in an entertaining final played at the Ulinzi Sports Complex here in Nairobi. In another match, FC Leopards beat Kariobangi Sharks 2-1 to finish third position in the tournament. These are some of the highlights today.
Wanalitoa kombe lao hapa ni Police FC. Wanakuambia hakuna sherehe ambayo haina vigelegele.
Police FC and KCB kicked off the game with high spirits, missing several chances, forcing a goalless halftime draw. In the second half, Police FC came in high spirits, dominating the early minutes of the half. However, KCB defenders made no mistakes, forcing a goal-time draw, forcing a 30 minutes extra time, where they played to the same score. In the penalty shootout, Patrick Matasi scored the winner for Police FC after Shadrack Simiyu missed the 8th penalty shootout.
Piga yeye mwenyewe penalty ya 9 Matasi. Matasi!
After the win, Police FC backed 2 million Kenyan shillings and secured a spot to represent the country in the CAF Confederations Cup next season as KCB backed 1 million Kenyan shillings.
Bado niko kwa uwanja. Police FC first trophy senior team ambayo ni plus because unajua kutengeneza history kwa timu kama hii kwa first trophy unajua utakuwa kwa hiyo history. Wameonyesha kitu na nadhani hii ita sum out our season, at least ndio topa morale ya kuanza next season vizuri.
In another match, AFC Leopards beat Kariobangi Sharks 2-1 to finish third in the tournament. Victor Omune gave AFC the opener in the 16th minute before Bakari Randi added a second in the 32nd minute. Keith Mbali scored the consolation goal in the 74th minute.
Kichwa chake Keith Mbali, cheka na nyavu. Kitu kinacheka na nyavu, mtazamaji, wanafungwa bao rahisi.
Now, Kenya kicked off their Rugby Africa Men's Sevens campaign by winning 2 pool matches and falling short in the third match in Mauritius. Kenya defeated host Mauritius 40-0 and went on to beat Nigeria 25-0 before suffering a disappointing, narrow 7-5 loss to Madagascar. This is the action.
Kenya began the Rugby Africa Cup Sevens brightly against Mauritius by registering a perfect 40-0 scoreline. Edmund Anya got the tries going for Kenya in the 2nd minute of the game before Dennis Abukuse made it 2 in the 5th minute. Benson Salem ensured Kenya had the 3rd try before the halftime break for a 19-0 lead. Kenya again dominated the second half and got 3 more converted tries through Elvis Olokusi, Edmund Anya and Benson Salem to seal the 40-0 win. Another dominant display by Kenya was witnessed against Nigeria, not conceding a single point as they won 25-0. Joel Inzuga was replaced by Festus Shiasi for the second match, but the script was the same as Edmund Anya again opened the score for Kenya with the first try of the match, and Benson Salem added a second in the dying minutes of the first half as Kenya led 10-0 at the break. 3 more unreplied and unconverted tries would come in the second half through Dennis Abukuse, Benson Salem and Harmony Wamalwa for the 25-0 win. Kenya, however, lost the final group game to Madagascar 7-5, failing to convert their tries they conceded for the first time to lose by just 2 points.
The Ministry of Sports is soon going to develop an automated system to ensure that projects are no longer delayed and at the same time leaving no room for corruption. Sports Arts and Social Development Fund Chief Executive Officer Noor Ibrahim says the system will enable federations to track their requests with timelines set for completion. Let's take a listen.
The Ministry of Sports has well planned its finances to ensure all sectors of the ministry are catered for.
We have a cascaded program. We have done our cash flows very appropriately to make sure that all this is expedited within the time frame and within the funds that are available. So these infrastructure projects go beyond 1 financial year.
The ministry is also looking at ways to ensure quick completion of the projects at hand.
We'll have a system whereby federations don't need to come physically to our offices or the ministry offices. They just log in from there they are, and then they'll be able to track their requests online. And then there will be timelines, because the system will never be to show that this request has been received at this point, at this hour, and it has delayed this office for this number of days or for this number of time. So this will enable us to expedite the issues quite faster, eliminate loopholes, eliminate corruption, eliminate all manner of things that have been a hindrance to this process.
The ministry has also planned in advance for future events in which the country may host or compete in.
Just like in a case where we have budgets for the national government, we need to know where we are coming from and where we are heading. That can only be achieved if they submit their plans for the year, the events that they intend to attend to, the events that they intend to host, so that we know their projections.
CEO of Sports Fund Nu Ibrahim was speaking while at the National Olympic Committee meeting in Sagana.
A defending world champion, no, I beg your pardon, we are on the Kabaddi. The Kenya men's Kabaddi national team are the champions of the finals of the Africa Men's Kabaddi Championship after beating Uganda 44-23 at Kasarani. Kenya, who are the reigning champions, made their intentions clear, taking charge of the game in both halves. Uganda had little to offer as the Kenyan team overcame them tactically. Following the win, represent the continent in the World Cup in Dubai at the end of this year. The Kenyan team qualified for the semi-finals after they topped Group A with 4 wins, followed by Zanzibar, who lost only 1 match in the group stage. Uganda, on the other hand, overpowered Zanzibar 69-21 in the second semi-final to set up an all-East Africa final affair. Some of the action from the place. From the motor racing scene, defending world champion Karl Rovanpera seized the lead of the all-in 80th Rally of Poland from Andreas Mikkelsen on Saturday morning as Mikkelsen fell to 3rd behind Toyota GR Yaris Elfyn Evans. Meanwhile, Aki Virani survived the scare after his Skoda Fabia R5 caught fire during today's Nanyuki Rally. This is the report by Bax.
Defending champion Karl Rovanpera made a storming start to the first 2 stages on super-fast roads east of the rally's Milwaukee base on Saturday, collecting a brace of benchmark times to top the standings as Mikkelsen fell to 3rd behind Rovanpera's Toyota GR Yaris teammate Elfyn Evans. But Hyundai i20N driver Mikkelsen, who had led by 1.8 seconds overnight, having reaped the rewards of cleaner roads conditions than his rival on Friday, fought back by winning in the morning's final on Kazan. He trailed Evans by just 2.1 seconds, with Rovanpera a single 10th in front. M-Sport Ford driver Adrian Fomo remained 4th ahead of Martin Sesk, with championship leader Thierry Neuville climbing from 7th to 6th after overtaking M-Sport hotshot Gregor Munster. Meanwhile, Skoda Fabia's Saman Vohra secured his 2nd win of the 2024 Kenya National Rally Championship season following brilliant displays in Nanyuki. Defending champion Jasmeet Chana came in 2nd incidentally on his very first outing behind the wheel of a Ford Fiesta R5. The legendary Ian Duncan, winner of the 1994 WRC Safari Rally, completed the podium, winning the classic car category at the wheel of his Datsun 280Z. Saman won the season-opening event in Eldoret, but retired on Safari following a mishap on Kasarani Super Special stage. Meanwhile, the sporting family mourns the passing of Senior Superintendent of Police John Biketi, who had served in the police force for 35 years and competed in various sporting disciplines including rally, athletics and darts. After winning the inter-provincial driving competition in 1964, Biketi pioneered the Kenya Police Drivers Rally Club 5 years later. His crew won the Pepsi Cola Rally that was held in Kampala, Uganda that year, setting a record of the first time in history for African drivers to win that rally. He also participated in the East African Safari Rally between 1969 and 1974 alongside Peter Wekomba and against other rally drivers including Joginder Singh and Shekhar Mehta. He also competed in the mile between 1959 and 1961 and was one of the founder members of the Kenya Police Darts Club under the umbrella of Police Sports Council. Biketi fell ill on 13th 2024 and after a battle with illness, he succumbed on 21st June 2024.
Mzee John Biketi will be laid to rest at his home in Samoya, Bungoma, this coming Saturday. Condolences to the family. Now, it's all systems go ahead of the inaugural Nairobi International Football Cup, set to be held between the 16th and 18th August here in Nairobi. Faces Junior Sports Academy have intensified their training ahead of the tournament, aiming to win the 3 categories in which they will compete in. Let's take a look.
Faces Academy head coach Kelvin Okumu says the team has been upbeat to bag titles of the categories they will compete in, being the host of the tournament.
We are looking at a platform to give these kids. Normally we are the ones who travel to Arusha, Nakuru, Mombasa, but Nairobi has been isolated for a while. So this year we are doing the Nairobi International Cup, and as you can see, the team is really at it. We are doing our best to prepare the kids, but at the end of the day, we are not forgetting that they are kids. We are not putting any pressure on them. We just want them to have fun and go out there and play the heart out and see where that takes them.
Speaking after today's training, Akumu added that the tournament comes in a time when junior teams are flying the Kenyan flag high, noting that it has been a motivational factor to the team and different teams across the country.
We are celebrating the community that made us. I come from Kibera, that's where I was born and bred. There's been a disconnect with the sport, like the sport and community relationship. So we are trying to bring this tournament close to these communities, close to the families, close to these kids, so that the community can also feel part of this.
The Nairobi International Cup will be held at Strathmore University and Lerana schools respectively, and has attracted more than 300 clubs from the East African community.
Here we have a lot of matches. I'm good at defense. Yeah. And I love football too.
The secret is consistency. So the kids here mainly wanakuja training every weekend. So your consistency ndio ina breed their progress, inafanya tunakuwa able to perform well in the tournaments and also in the friendly matches.
My tutor knew one of the coaches and called him so I can join, and I love it to be in Faces.
The tournament will have various categories from the under 9 years to the under 15 for boys and girls, will be held between 16th to 18th of August this year.
I have taken around 3 tournaments, and as a player, I honestly say I've done well, but without the team, without the help of the team, I would be nothing. The team has really helped me.
For Legends Edition Sports, I'm Daniel Mwendwa.
It's always a pleasure to see those young people out and about doing their thing on the sporting fields. Keep it up. Now, host country South Africa were held to a goalless draw by Botswana in the second group stage match of the ongoing 2024 Safa Cup in a frustrating afternoon at the Wolfson Stadium. South Africa took charge of the match right from the beginning, but conceded when Botswana's Ramotse got an opportunity via a free kick. He flashed over the crossbar. The hosts tried to hit back, but Modise's free kick was saved by the keeper. Second half bore no fruit, and they had to settle for a barren draw. Mozambique, who held South Africa to a 1-0 draw in their opening match, could not find the back of the net against Eswatini, who held them to a goalless draw in their second match. Now, following the results, all teams in Group A tie on 2 points each after 2 games. Kenya, who kicked off their campaign with a 2-0 win over defending champions Zambia, will play Comoros in the second Group B match tomorrow. From the golfing scene, over 70 golfers from Kiambu County participated in the 5th edition of the patronage golf event held today at the Ndumberi Golf Club. The tournament was organized to attract young talents below the ages of 10 years. Let's take a listen.
Dumberi Golf Club is known for nurturing the top amateur golfers in the country and has produced the best players, including Michael Karanga, who is ranked 2nd in Africa and 54th in the world, and Elvis Mwigwa, who is the best youth golfer in Kenya. And today, over 70 golfers competed in the patronage golf event aimed at raising funds to complete the golf club.
Dumberi Golf Club ndio ile club yenye iko kwa kijiji, is a 9-hole, na kwa uwezo wa Mungu wachezaji wote wenye wazuri kwa taifa hili letu la amateur golfer, wa mmoja Michael Karanga, Elvis Mwigwa, wote wanatoka kwa hiki club ya Dumberi.
According to the patron of the club, Thomas Kimari, the aim of the 5th edition was to raise funds for the completion of construction works at the club that have stalled for some time.
Wachezaji pia, particularly from Kiabu Golf Club na Witsa na Mudhaiga Golf Club, wanafurahia hiki kiwanja sababu ni iko gumu zaidi.
In addition, the tournament was also used to attract and motivate young talents below the ages of 10 years, some of whom are sponsored by the club.
Now, we all know that this year is another great year, sporting year, with the Olympics coming up this coming summer. That's July, August. From Kenya, Ferdinand Omanyala is heading to France for the Paris Olympic Games in an attempt to end the dominance of the Jamaicans and the Americans in the 100 meters. With 2 African gold medals and 1 Commonwealth Games gold medal to his name, he is focused on adding the world and Olympic titles to his career, with this year's Paris Games offering him the chance to take one of those titles. Our Olympic Watch tonight focuses on Ferdinand Omanyala. Let's take a listen.
Ferdinand Omanyala of Kenya getting a wonderful welcome here from the crowd in Botswana. Quick start in the middle from Tobago and from Ferdinand Omanyala. Here comes Ferdinand Omanyala, unofficially 9.79. That would be phenomenal from Ferdinand Omanyala.
Tobago, watch him there on the outside in the orange vest. He looks at him, they look at each other, and he smiles. It's almost like they had a little bit of a rivalry. Who's going to win this one?
Ferdinand Omanyala has made it to Team Kenya for the Paris Olympic Games, and his focus is not only getting to the final but winning gold to add to his collection. His first attempt for a medal at an Olympic Games was not so successful as he missed out at Tokyo 2020.
Well, also coming through is Lindsay as well, but in the end, on the line, 9.92, Omanyala and Tobago. Very, very close indeed in the photo finish. Who got it on the line? Omanyala looks, Tobago looks. Neither of them celebrating. Omanyala's been given it, 9.92.
But he has 3 titles to his name, all of which he won 2 years ago. He won the 100 meters gold at the African Championship in Mauritius, and at the same event also won gold in the 4x100 meter relays. The same year he went on to win gold in the Commonwealth Games in Birmingham, United Kingdom. At the World Championship in Budapest last year, he finished 7th, an improvement from the previous World Championship in Eugene, where he was ranked 13th overall, and at the World Indo Championship early this year, he finished 4th in the 60 meters event.
Well, Omanyala got a brilliant start. Lyles looks fairly relaxed on the near side. Omanyala, Lyles, and it's Akiri.
Born on 2nd January 1996, Omanyala is the 9th fastest man of all time in the 100 meters, having clocked a time of 9.77 seconds on the 18th of September 2021, and also holds the Kenyan national record in the 60 meters. Paris will be his 2nd Olympics and wants to better his previous attempt by making it to the final and perhaps making it to the gold medal.
He could not be more of a hometown favourite, and they will be partying in Nairobi tonight. Ferdinand Omanyala invited the rest of the world to come and race him, and he has come out on top.
All the best for Ferdinand and the rest of the Kenyan team at the Olympics this year. Stay tuned to KBC for more of those Olympic watches. Now, finally, Brazil moved up to second position in Group D of the 2024 Copa America after beating Paraguay 4-1 in the second pool match early today morning. Brazil sit behind Colombia, who recorded a second successive win in the tournament by beating Costa Rica 3-0 in the United States. Let's take a look.
Savinho doubled Brazil's lead just before the break with his first goal for Brazil. Group D leaders Colombia continued their impressive start to the competition with a 3-0 win over Costa Rica. Liverpool winger Luis Diaz opened the scoring on the half hour from the penalty spot. Colombia doubled their lead just before the hour through defender Davinson Sanchez's header. Jean Cordoba smashed in a third from close range. Colombia can ensure they finish top of Group D by avoiding defeat against Brazil in their final group stage fixture on Wednesday morning.
And on that note, it's a wrap from the sports segment of the Legends edition. And of course, I'm Topi Lyambila. And to remind you before I hand over to my colleague Edmund Mudibo, is Rumba Bridge over the Congo coming up soon after the news with, of course, Patro Kibangu Mfumo, Winnie Marie Jose and DJ Extraordinary Salim on the decks waiting. And we guys just put on the Rumba shoes and we shall be on. Good night and enjoy yourselves.
Sports News was brought to you by Mozart Bet.
You can lift the plane. The higher you fly, the higher your win. The sky is the limit. Mozart Bet.
Well, it's time to sign off, and that's all we had for you this evening in Legends Edition. We thank you for the privilege of your time, and kudos to the great team that has made this possible this evening. Our sign language interpreter was Anne Wangeshi. I'm Edmund Mudibo. Goodbye, good night, God bless.